punches. The punches weren't really necessary. Maybe
They were super necessary.
Hey y'all, it's me, Hytek, and welcome back to another installment of the Remember series, the off-script video series where I share with you guys my memories and my feelings and perspectives on classic games that might have either been forgotten by most people or just kind of underrated, slept on, that kind of thing. And today's video, actually, let me just rewind for a second. Let me start off by saying that not all games that I will be presenting are going to be considered forgotten, right? And in today's video, that is most certainly the case. This game single-handedly was the inspiration that created this ginormous upsurge in this wave of clones and other games that tried to do what this game did. And you know, it started off in 1993 and it is still going strong even today. This game absolutely has not been lost to the halls and the passage of time. We just got a recent installment. It has thrown us in the shores of the dead and the fiery depths of hell many, many, many times, giving us tons of amazing weapons and crazy power-ups and fun secrets to discover and lots of demons to kill, rip, and tear. So with that being said, today's super necessary video is about none other than the father, the daddy of the first-person shooter, Doom. Okay, so before I get started, let me just start by saying thank you guys so much for subscribing and liking my previous video in the Remember series where we talked about Turok, the dinosaur hunter for the Nintendo 64. I was not expecting the reception that I got on that video, and so I was quite surprised and I was really happy with it, and it definitely inspired me to make more videos, which is why we're here today. I was going to make some more videos regardless, but that definitely got the fire lit and I'm ready to rock. So let's jump into it. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to give you guys a couple of facts, a little bit of a background about the development and of Doom and what it is, what it was, how it went down. But we're not going to jump too far into it because, like I have said before, it's about my memories and my perception and how I grew up with the game. So, we're not going to get too far into that. So let's just go. So for those that are holier than thou or the uninitiated that don't know what Doom is, which is actually crazy if you really think about that. I mean, everybody knows Doom. Doom was a first-person shooter that was developed in 1993 by the team that is now known as id Software. And back then it was just a couple of people on the team. I want to say it was John Carmack, there's John Romero, a guy named Tom Hall, and another person named Sandy Peterson, right? Very small team, like ragtag group of people, which, most games back in the day were just developed by a really, really small team. Mortal Kombat 1, I think, was developed by like 7 people total or something like that, 5 people. So it came out in 1993. It was developed for the MS-DOS, which is the Microsoft Disk Operating System. It's an operating system for PCs back in the day. A long time ago. This was before Windows ever came out. And so essentially what that is, in order for them to make the graphics and, the game and things like that, they had to just it was just straight like putting in secret codes and just letters and numbers and symbols into this, this operating system. And that's how they did it. There were no 3D graphics or visual graphics to go off of at that time. So that's how they did it. And they usually used floppy disks at the time to save the data and to store it. And, they used it to, that's just how it was back then with those computers. The idea and the inspiration for Doom came right after Wolfenstein, which was about 1992. Wolfenstein was extremely popular. It was also a first-person shooter, but it didn't have the same impact as Doom did, just because, just lightning in a bottle, that sort of thing. And, Wolfenstein definitely just kind of like showed you the door, but then Doom came through and blew open the door, went inside and kicked your dog, slapped your mom, and then ate a sandwich. And that's essentially what Doom kind of did at that time. Doom was a really, really big deal. It just improved a lot on what Wolfenstein did. You know, they added a lot more weapons. They definitely improved on the graphics and the lighting, and they added multiplayer, and the campaign was bigger, and, you know, just had way more content, and it definitely upped the violence. And I think that, paired with other things, is kind of what launched it to the status that it has today. Because, you know, back then, you know, especially like the 90s, you know, like ESRB, like I going back to what I said about Mortal Kombat, it was violence was a big deal, and Doom is definitely about violence. You know, there's demons and there's blood, and there's a lot of demonic imagery and that kind of thing. And so because of that, this game also created a lot of controversy, not just within gaming communities, but just the world as a whole. You know, it was making headlines on news, and we had you know, a really big tragic event that occurred in America that I'm not going to dive too much into. That you can look into that, because, you know, I'm not here to talk about all the sad and, you know, dark, morbid stuff. We're here to talk about Doom. So the guys at id Software, you know, they took inspiration from, you know, I think it was like the Alien movies, and there's another movie or some type of media that they really wanted to you know, focus on or use that as the inspiration for their next game. And then they ended up, because they couldn't really settle on like a final kind of concept for the game, it just kind of, they played around with it. You know, it was with aliens, you know, invading Earth through a portal, and then those turned into demons. And then the name Doom came from a line of a movie that they had watched, and, you know, one of the characters mentioned something about Doom, just, you know, the word Doom, and they're like, you know, hey, that sounds good enough, let's go with that.
What you got in there?
In here? Doom.
And so that's kind of the idea that they ran with, and they built upon that. And that is essentially, you know, the skinny version of how we got Doom. They initially released it under the shareware model. And if you're unaware of what shareware is, it's essentially kind of like, you know, when you get like a demo disc or a trial, and, you know, you get the first hour for free, or the first level, or that kind of thing. And then at the end, they say, oh, hey, you know, if you like this product, you can buy the next part, and it costs this much, and help us support, you know, kind of like Patreon, you know, like it's essentially what Patreon is, more likely. It's shareware, right? You're giving people, like, it's the Costco free sample. You give them a little bit. If you like it, you know, support us, get the next part. Here's how much it is. And so they released the first episode of Doom for free. And then after that, you know, you have to pay for it. But not only is this game special, but it is monumental. And for all the reasons that I had listed earlier, it is monumental to me because I didn't grow up with this game per se. You know, it came out in 1993. I was a little kid at that time. I was 1 year old. That's it. So I didn't get into gaming until I was probably about 5, or, you know, and I had a Game Boy, and I actually didn't discover Doom up until, I want to say it was Doom 3. So, and the only reason I discovered Doom 3 was because my uncle had the special edition of Doom 3. It came with that silver steelbook, which was super badass. It was on the original Xbox, and I don't know if you had to unlock it or if it just came pre-packaged as it was, but with the game on the disc, it came with the Ultimate Doom, which was like the complete retail package of the first Doom game, and it also came with Doom 2. And when I had first seen those games, you know, inside of Doom 3, which Doom 3 is, by the way, a badass game on its own. That's a different story. But when I had first seen Doom 1 and Doom 2, I knew there was something about it that was special. And I think that is a definite testament to, you know, just the product itself and the legacy of Doom. Because something about the graphics and the sounds and the gameplay. It's very simple. You know, it's almost, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the screensaver background back on like Windows, was it 98 or something like that? It's where the one where you're like a person in the maze, the 3D maze, and you're just going through it and you're turning corners and there's weird little pictures. It's all pixelated and it's like the walls are made of bricks and you have to find the exit and there's like a rat in there and it's like pictures of Legos and other weird shit. That's what Doom looked like to me. And I always wanted to play that stupid maze screensaver. I wished it was a game that I could play because I was like, I want to run through a 3D maze and just find the exit. And Doom is kind of like that, but you get to shoot everything inside, which obviously is just a big bonus at that point. And it's essentially what the game is, and that's what it looks like to me. So for me, it was definitely very special, very intriguing, and I played the games and immediately just fell in love with them. I was about, let's see, Doom 3 was 2004. I was about 12 years old at that point in my life, and so there's 12-year-old me playing, you know, my uncle's Xbox. I'm playing Doom 3, but I'm not even playing actual Doom 3. I'm just playing Doom 1 and 2. And I went through the entire game for both of those games. And, you know, I just, when you play the game, it just kind of sucks you in and just has this, gets you in a rear naked choke and it doesn't let go. And even if you tap out, you still want to go back and hope it chokes your ass out again because that's how good Doom is. Doom is the shit! So when you play the game of Doom, Doom is very simple in nature. There's not a whole lot of story to the original Doom. It's just you're playing as the unnamed Marine in the UAC who has lovingly been dubbed by the community and the entire gaming world at this point as the Doom Marine or the Doom Guy, who is now known as the Doom Slayer, by the way, which is potentially, most likely, kind of, sort of, maybe the same guy. Doom Guy and Doom Slayer are the same. I might make a video about that one where we kind of dive into that. But anywho, you're playing as the Doom Guy. You know, he's just this regular old dude who wears this green space armor. He got put on Mars because his commanding officer told him to start just blasting on a bunch of people, unarmed civilians, and he said no because he is a righteous man and he's a good boy and he pays his taxes and he goes to church, which is why he hates demons. Even my daughter agrees. You can hear in the background. Anyways, he got sent to Mars, you know, and just stationed there. He was bored, and then all of a sudden, you know, these demons just start kind of pouring out into the moons of Mars. And he just like, hey, you know what? I'm not doing anything else, and just decides to start killing them demons. He's just ripping and tearing through everything. So that is pretty much the basic story of Doom. You start off, like I said, on Mars, and you know, as you progress through the game, you go through the levels. It gives you like little bits of story through text screens and that kind of thing. There's no voice acting. There are no cutscenes. It's just kind of like these still shots when you reach the end of a chapter, which I don't even know if they're even actual like images or imagery. I know there's one for sure, which is where his pet rabbit dies, but I think that's the end of Doom. I don't know if it's end of Doom 1 or Doom 2. It's one of those two. But anyhow, most of the time it gives you like some kind of a blank background, like it's a brick texture background or like some demon flesh, and then it just has the red font on it and it just gives you the story bits. And that's it. The rest is gameplay. And like I said, it is a 3D, not 3D game because the technology they had at the time, it gave the illusion of it being in 3D, kind of like how Star Fox worked on the Super Nintendo. And it really wasn't 3D. It just, like I said, it gave you the illusion because there isn't any vertical space in the Doom games. It's just, you know, just a big maze essentially. But, you know, improving on the technology that they had used when making Wolfenstein, it definitely sells the impression and the visuals that like, hey, this is like a 3D game. But if you look at the sprites, you know, the characters, they're clearly 2D sprites, but you know, when you strafe and rotate around them, they kind of rotate with you. But you can tell it looks like paper. I call them like paper graphics because it just looks like a piece of paper in a 3D world. But this game is amazing. It is really, really fun. There are tons of weapons to go through. You start with just basic, you start with just a pistol, just a regular pistol. And then you get the hand, or the fist, sorry, the hand. But I call it the hand because it just looks funny. He just does this little punchy motion right here, and then they just they explode. But you get a pistol, you get a shotgun, you get a minigun, then you start kind of getting into the wacky weapons, which kind of I think, like I said, Turok kind of pulled from this. Plasma rifles, you get a freaking chainsaw, dude. You get an actual chainsaw on Mars in space killing demons with a chainsaw. That is sick. Right? And then you get, of course, you get rocket launchers. You get the BFG, which is like, it's self-explanatory. It's a big fucking gun, okay? The BFG. And then you get the super shotgun, which is in Doom 2. And the super shotgun is probably one of the more iconic, just simple, traditional weapons out there. And it was popularized by Doom 2. And if you don't believe me, just do some research, play some more games, play some more first-person shooter games. A lot of games make reference to Doom and super shotguns. Those two go together like peanut butter and ladies. This game is also notorious for receiving pretty much just a port on quite literally every single gaming hardware console to ever exist. And if you don't believe me, just look it up. Seriously, just look it up for yourself. This thing has ports on everything. More than Resident Evil 4, more than Street Fighter 2. Seriously, they were just yanking on those cow titties, trying to get that Doom money. And I think it still works. I mean, honestly, I'm not bored of Doom, all this time later. I really am not. I actually, because going back to how I grew up with Doom, 12-year-old me, so I never owned an original Xbox. I always had to play on my uncle's. So eventually when I got my first Xbox, which was the Xbox 360, they went ahead and they re-released Doom 1 and Doom 2 on the Xbox 360. And every time they, for the most part, I think later on with game, like I think so from the 360 generation and beyond, every time they re-released a port of Doom, they always added something extra, like an extra couple levels or an extra episode, or they made something brand new or some kind of feature, they improved upon it somehow, some way, right? So with the Xbox 360 version, I want to say it added like another extra... Sorry, there's a demon child in my room. It's a mini version of me and she's yelling. But so I want to say with the 360 version, they added an extra episode. I want to say it was to like Doom 2. And then by that time, it came with the retail package of Doom 1, which was called The Ultimate Doom, which came out on, I want to say, the PlayStation 1? Or am I thinking of Final Doom? I don't know. There's so many ports and so many versions. I can't keep track of them all. But I counted, as far as ports go, I counted about 23, like, official ports. I would call them, like, unique individual ports. And that's not including, like, your Texas graph calculators. That's not including like the taskbar on your MacBook, and that's definitely not including the infamous pregnancy test Doom game. Yes, they actually ran Doom on a pregnancy test. I am not lying. I'm so dead ass right now. That's how badass Doom is. It's on a pregnancy. The babies are playing Doom. So it's clear that the game is all over the place, but the version that I had, the first version of Doom that I owned, was the Xbox Live Arcade version, and I remember playing through that game. I actually went on a trip to Mexico, and I took my 360 with me, and I went with I took my friend. I got to take my friend with me. So I took my friend, and we just played, during our whole trip to Mexico, we were playing Gears of War 3, which was new at the time, and we were playing a lot of Doom. We were playing multiplayer and we were playing co-op. And then when I went you know, even a year or two later, a couple years later, you know, I had friends over. We would play. I would show them, because a couple of friends didn't even know about Doom, which is ridiculous. But I showed a few of my friends Doom, and we would play Doom. Just straight up, just the deathmatch. You know, a 4-player, just on my TV, my old CRT in my room, or LCD or whatever the hell I had. I don't know. I had an old TV. But we would just play Doom in my room, and it was just really, like, it was really incredible, which makes me think about how it was back then when the game had come out, because I had researched that, you know, people were, when Doom was the new hotness on the streets, people were playing Doom at work. You know, a lot of the people that worked in offices and firms and stuff like that, you know, computer jobs, desk jobs, they were playing Doom at work, and they were getting trouble to the point, they were getting so much trouble to the point that I think, like, companies and businesses were, I don't know how they did it or what they did, but they banned Doom. Like, they had a strict no Doom rule in the office, and so I think they rigged their PCs to not run Doom so that they just couldn't play, you know, deathmatch when they should be on a call or something like that. I don't know, but that's badass. And so, I mean, this is the game that essentially kind of pioneered, like, online multiplayer. There is, and I know for a fact there were multiplayer games before Doom that, you know, had the big connectivity between, you know, people across certain distances, but it was nowhere near as big and as, like, iconic as, you know, Doom made it out to be. So I had Doom on the 360, and then a really big pivotal actual core memory for me is when I was going to community college at the time. I got my first smartphone. I had an Android. It was a Galaxy S3, and I was so just, like, enamored with the ability to play those cool games just on my phone, because that was just, you know, smartphones were new, so they had, like, stupid apps, like the one where you just, like, you can get an app where it just has, like, a gun, and you just tap the screen and it just shoots, and that's literally all it does, and you can reload it with your finger. That was it. There's the apps where it turns your phone into a lighter. You just, you know, flick it and it comes on. It's a lighter. You have apps that turn your phone into, like, a police siren. It had the colors and the visuals, just dumb stuff, but it had really cool games, like, you know, Angry Birds and all these other, you know, Jelly Car and cool games like that. But then one fateful day, I found Doom on the Android marketplace, and it was free. Doom is not free anymore on mobile, just so iOS or Android, it's not free. At that time, Doom was free, and it was the whole game. It was Doom 1 and 2. And it was on the Android marketplace. I downloaded it, and I have big time core memories of literally just being in class and I'm playing Doom. I am on my phone, just in the back, playing Doom. And you know, I was just one of those dudes in the office, just killing the demons, and when I should have been just paying attention. And I really had a great time with that game on my phone. I hate Androids now, and it has nothing to do with Doom, but yeah, I really enjoyed playing Doom on my phone back then. So that takes us to today, where I am now a avid Doom fan. I really love reading up on all the lore and looking at, like, icebergs, and I really enjoy the games. I currently have Doom 1 and 2 installed on Steam. I have it on my Switch. I still have it on my 360. And, you know, like I said, they release so many ports, and the most recent update, you know, I wouldn't even call it a port, I guess. I guess it would just be, well, I know, I guess it would be a port. They updated the game, and, you know, it added, like, a whole new chapter, you know, brand new, which was made by Night Dive, by the way, going back to the whole Turok video we made. We love you, Night Dive. But they added a whole new chapter. They had, like, new weapons, and they allowed the ability to play the games in 60 frames per second, you know, in 1080. And some of them you can even play up to 120 frames per second in 4K. They brought back the multiplayer, which is really difficult, by the way. It's a hard game to play. There's a lot of sweaties. But you know, they're always doing something new to just, like, I feel like just reinvigorate Doom, and it's working. It's still kicking. You know, we got the whole Doom 2016, we got Doom Eternal, and here we are with Doom the Dark Ages, which I cannot wait to play, by the way. They have tons of mods and just lots of cool community created content for these original games, and it's still going. You know, the game is what, 32 years old now at this point, or something like that, and man, it is still alive. It's still kicking. We're still in the age of Doom, and yeah, that's my experience with Doom. And oh, look at my shirt. I even have this Stack Your Demon shirt, and it's got this it's got a little dark or lost soul right there. So I mean, hey, let it speak for itself. But this game is amazing for many reasons to many people, and you know, enough cannot be said about the cultural impact and the longevity of this game. I'm so glad they rebooted this game in 2016, because I think that was one of the best things that has happened to gaming in you know, like the last decade or so. It's a great game. What else can I say? Go play some Doom. All right, go play some Doom. Go to work and just start booting up Deathmatch, or go to school, or do whatever. Get on your Chromebooks, get on your laptops, get on your freaking your electronic toothbrush. Just start playing Doom. That's all I got for you guys today. We talked about Doom. This is one of my favorite games here. Coincidentally, another first-person shooter. You know what I mean? Kind of hot off the heels of the Turok video, but I figured since with Doom the Dark Ages is the newest hotness on the street, you know, I thought it was a good time, and I really wanted to talk about Doom. So thank you guys for watching. I really, really appreciate it. If you had fun, if you enjoyed like hearing my story, hearing me talk about this game and just doom glazing all over the place, give me a like, you know, subscribe. I really appreciate all those who subscribed and liked on the last Turok video. I really enjoyed doing this. I'm going to give you guys probably some gameplay of either like an old Doom game, or maybe like some speedrunning stuff. You know, maybe some Dark Ages, whatever. Just let me know. Whatever you want to see, just, you know, drop a comment. Let me know. That was today's super necessary video, guys. You guys take care. Have a good day, you motherfucker. Oh my gosh. Oh yes. How could I have forgotten about the freaking soundtrack, dude? I would say that there is no better soundtrack aside from maybe like Halo or Shadow of the Colossus, or, you know what I mean? Devil May Cry, maybe. But the soundtrack for Doom games goes stupid dummy dumb. Oh my god. Even if you don't like metal or rock or anything like that, this game will easily convince you and just convert you and just flip you and do all that stuff. It'll violate you. This soundtrack is banging. It just got me feeling like that John Cena, like, go listen to some Doom soundtracks. Go play some Doom. Do it. Just get out of here. Do it.